So as was mentioned, I'm Breanna, and I work as a developer for Pillar Technology right across the street. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about Three.js, and my computer seems to have frozen. Awesome. Let's see if I can reload this. So Three.js is a JavaScript library that allows you to create graphics in 3D. It gives you a 3D grid space. Then you can place items into that grid space, and then you have a camera that you can move around that grid space. So this was a project that I did a little while back. It's called Space Jams, and the idea is it is a 3D space visualization of a user's RDO music library. So RDO is like Grooveshark or Spotify. You log in, you create music, playlists and accounts. And so the idea was when a user logs in, they're taken to a screen that looks something like this. So I'm logged in. And it displays their musical galaxy. So you can see I've got 7 albums in my RDO account, and so I have 7 solar systems in my galaxy. So if you choose one, it will find that solar system and zoom into it. And then it also plays music. So when you select a song, the corresponding planet will light up. And maybe, there it goes, and music plays. So the number of planets matches the number of songs on the album, and when they switch, the planet changes, etc. Okay, so this is what I did using Three.js, so I wanted to talk just about some very basics of that. So I'm hoping to show you guys just how to make this happen, because that's about all we can do in 5 minutes. So when you're starting with Three.js, there's 3 really important components. One, you have to create the scene. So that's just a new 3 scene. This is what creates your grid, the x-axis, the y-axis, and the z-axis coming out of the screen. I would set the renderer. There's a couple different kinds of renderers you can use. I'm using a WebGL renderer. And that is just what's actually going to draw the animations. And then the camera. The camera is really important. You can move that around within the scene. There's a couple different kinds of cameras. I'm using a perspective camera, and there's some basic properties set on it here, which you can play with those. This line's really important. You have to set the camera position. So by default, Three.js puts everything at 0, 0, 0. So that means when we put our objects onto the screen, they're going to be at 0, 0, 0. So if our camera is there, then they can't see the objects. So here I'm moving the camera back 500. So I'm setting the Z position out 500, and then it will look back at 0, 0, 0. And then I just have a simple function that is going to actually create the planet for us. It takes in a radius and a color, and then it has one method on it, on my object, that is building that planet. So to build this object, we're going to need a sphere geometry, which is, we need 2 things. We need the geometry and then the material. So the geometry, the sphere is the shape. It takes in a radius, which gives it its size. Rings and segments are what draw those little lines on it. And then a material. There's lots of materials you can play with that. And then the actual sphere just takes in the geometry and the material that's projected onto it. So then we just have to add the geometry to the mesh to the scene, and then we're going to set that the sphere as the planet's geometry. We'll need that later. And then we have a function that's just going to render, which is what's actually going to draw the animation. This creates a loop that happens every 60th of a second. And so then here's my actual, where it's happening. So we're going to build the scene, set the renderer, set the camera, and then create one planet. This is just going to be a red planet. So you can see here, I'm creating an instance of this object. My new planet is going to take in that it's got the red planet radius, the red planet color, and then I'm going to call build planet on it. This is really important. We need a light. When you are using Three.js, by default, everything is dark. You can't see anything. You have to turn on the lights. So there's a couple different kinds of lights. There is a point light that creates shadows, like like a flashlight you were shining on something. Here I'm just using ambient light, which just is kind of like light in general in the room. And then we're just going to add it to the scene the same way we added the. We haven't added anything else yet. So we added the sphere to the scene, and then this is our light. Awesome. So if we do that, we will actually just get this. So far, we've added it to the scene. We have the camera looking at it. It's red. It's got lines, and it's got a radius, but it's not moving yet. So to add some movement, this is pretty straightforward. All I'm doing is to this same guy here, we've got our object. We're just going to add one more method, and it's going to be called update spin. We need a rotation of axis. I'm using the y-axis to tell it where you want it to spin. You can play with this and make this, I made all of my planets obviously not going straight up and down. But at an angle, and then the angle of rotation is the speed that it's spinning at, so it's in radians. If you do it negative, it just goes the other direction. Positive goes one way. And then we actually just call this on the geometry, so the planet geometry rotate on axis, and we give it the rotational axis and the angle of rotation. So remember I told you the render function is what gets called every 60th of a second, so we just need to add this to our render. We have red planet update spin, so it gets called every 60th of a second and is going to show the movement. So it will look like this. Ta-da! So I'm just about out of time, but a little bit of information in case you want to know more. So my name is Breanna Turcsanyi. My GitHub, if you want to find me on GitHub, so it's Breanna Lynn with a 3 instead of an E. And it's called my Hackbright project, is the project that I was showing you if you wanted to play with it, fork it, do whatever you like. My email at Pillar, and then the Three.js.org. It's actually got pretty decent docs, so check it out. And then Arrow Twist has an awesome tutorial if you want to learn more. I know I was talking really fast, but I'm already over on time, so that is all. Three.js.